Okay, I'm going to take you through this deep house track that I produced and just go through the sections one by one. We'll do drums first, and let me first play the whole song straight through. Okay, that's it. Let me take you through the intro and the first drums. Okay, the kick is just the Cashmere sound pack. Clap is made up of two layers here. First layer is just a 909 clap. I shifted that back a bit so the transient doesn't hit it at the same time as the kick. And then the second layer to that clap is just to give it some weight, sort of some more mid-range. And then what I've done here is automated on the clap. Where is it? What? Ah. So what I've done here is automated the send going to claps channel, and then it's got some ping pong delay, Valhalla vintage verb, and then we're just ducking the sound here with LFO tool. So it just sort of creates some variation at the end of the loop. Okay, then we get into the hats. First layer, it's just panned left and right to create some sort of interest in the stereo field. So a little bit more mono over here, then a little bit more stereo. And then if we get into the second part of this drum loop of the intro, I've just added another loop here. Just to give it a bit more groove. And then the percussion. Let's see, I'm not sure where these are from. It's just like some transient-y stuff. What is that? That is just from some percussion loop that I've cut a small section out of. And yeah, from another loop. Yeah, and that just adds some interest to that clap. Cool, so that's basically the intro drums. And then we go into the piano. There's the MIDI for the piano. Start out just playing a, what is that, a G minor chord. And fade it in slowly with an auto filter. And then we introduce the full progression when, well, halfway through the intro. And that's got quite a lot of processing on the piano. Let's see. That's the mid-side EQ. So boosting the middle signal here on the piano, completely removing the side from the lowest octave. And then boosting the highs on the side and taking a bit out of the middle. Okay. And on the actual piano, just unfreeze this. I've got some auto pan to move it around slightly. Some saturator and a compressor. Okay, and then the effects. This is taken from that song. Just like a tiny section of the vocal I've taken and then added a delay onto it and bounced it out basically into this pattern. And faded it in using an auto filter. Okay, so this is just a sweep. And then, yeah, we have this nylon guitar taken from a house pack. What have I done here? Added OTT to it, ping pong delay, some reverb, and a bit of EQ. Bounced it out over here. So what I did here was I would have just taken this and resampled it to this channel and then added these effects to it. LFO tool to duck it a bit and just removing the lows again from it. Cool, so that's just a little effect there. Okay, so now onto the first break. Oh, I didn't show this little whop over here. That's just a sample from Vengeance. Okay, and now the vocal. For the breakdown, let's just go through the breakdown.
I never thought I'd fall in love with you. I never thought I'd fall in love. I never thought I'd fall in love with you. I never thought I'd fall. I never.
Okay, so this vocal took quite a bit of processing to get right. Let's see, yeah, a lot. Started off with a ping pong delay, then we went into OTT. So let me just switch these off one by one. I can leave that on.
I never thought I'd fall in love with you.
So yeah, that's what that sounded like. I actually transposed it up 6 semitones, so originally it would have sounded like this.
I never thought I'd fall in love with you.
So put that up 6 semitones.
I never thought I'd fall.
Then put the OTT on.
I never thought I'd fall in love with you.
And little alto boy. And that just brought the formant down to make it sound less chipmunky.
I never thought I'd fall in love with you. I never thought I'd fall in love.
Okay, and then some EQ to take out the lows.
I never thought I'd
And then an auto filter. I guess that's used somewhere, is it? Yeah, towards the end. Alright, and then what I did was just take the first little section over here, chop it out, and then took its reverb tail and reversed it so that we have this coming in.
Fall in love with you.
Cool, I'm just going to freeze that because PC is going to struggle otherwise. So then I just took this vocal and chopped it up into this pattern. I think it was just this little bit. That's just trial and error trying to get that right. What else? So just a little bit of vinyl crackle there, some impacts. And then this little, I don't even know what I'd call that, some sort of effect, some high effect. And then we go into the drop. So here's a little interesting effect. All that is just the singer taking a breath before they say a word. So I chopped that out and then added some OTT to it, ping pong delay, and some reverb. Okay. Okay, so then this takes us into the brass section. So this again is just a French horn from Contact, some OTT. I put OTT on everything pretty much. Vintage verb again. Some ducking. And an auto filter. Just to take out some of the highs. And just to remove a bit of that rumble using the EQ. And then just the same brass, just doing this little staccato thing. And that's spread out really wide using the stereo flex. Okay, and how that works is just pan hard left, hard right, and then delayed slightly differently on each side for that effect. Okay, cool. What's up? Oh, I've added in a shaker. It's the same loop as the intro. I've just added a shaker to this. Okay, what that is, that's piano, which I can't 100% remember how I made that, but I think I had a section while I was making the track that had piano in it, other than the chords. And I just added a bunch of delays to it, and then resampled those delays, and it made this sound, which kind of worked really well in the track, but the actual piano didn't, so I don't have that part anymore. So yeah, unfortunately I can't show how that was made, but that's how it sounds. And then we have this layered in with the brass, this pluck. What is this? Let's see. Cool, so that's just a little sine wave doing that. And I add this Crystallizer from Sound Toys, and it just does these weird sort of delays, and I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, this is what it sounds like. Then this is basically just like a saturator, distortion plugin, some vintage verb, and then OTT to bring it all out, and LFO tool to duck it. Okay, I don't know what's happened now. Why is it doing this? Did I turn it on? Oh, wait. I don't think I even used this. Yeah. Yeah, it's way too harsh. So, I can just delete that. Okay, let me get into this bass. Cool, so that's the sub. Just a sine wave with like a plucky envelope. And then some ducking. And just cutting out a bit of the noise up there. And I've got a compressor, just controlling the peaks. Okay, so this bass, serum again. Let's see. So we went into LFO tool to duck the bass. Is there any effects on it? Yep, so some hyper to give it some width. Distortion's not on, compressor's not on. EQ to cut out the lows and give it a little bump over here. Cutting out the sub from this bass using the EQ, OTT, just to bring out the highs a bit more. And again, just removing the lows because the OTT would have brought them back in, and some of the highs too, giving it a boost around 600 to give it like a bit more of a boxy sound. And then stereo flex again to widen it. You can find that, by the way, by just searching stereo flex. Flex. There it is. Okay. Okay, so we go into the second breakdown. See, I'm not sure. Let me just double check the original here. I think the low vocal sounded slightly different. Yeah. So over here, this section, that came out differently now, and I think the reason for that is that the way Alter Boy processes stuff, it seems to do it like differently each time. So if I froze that and froze it again, it probably would change again and give me a different result. Otherwise, I can't see any other reason why it sounds different.
I never thought I'd fall in love with you. I never thought.
Yeah, that's weird. I think that's just a 909. Typical cheesy build-up. Okay, so I've added this little impact. I love that impact. It always just gives you some sort of powerful sort of dynamic change in the low end. In things like breakdowns where I usually don't have a lot of low end, you suddenly add that in, it just creates a lot of power. It's just a little fill from the Cashmere pack. You can barely hear it, but it does add some interest to the drum loop. Everything else is pretty much the same as the first drop. The only difference is I've added in this synth solo or lead. I'm just going to unfreeze this and then take you through the processing of the lead. Basically, how the pattern for the lead was created is it's just copying the sort of cadence of the brass pattern. And you can hear how it follows the brass. So we have two saw waves, one's tuned up an octave and one down an octave. We've got some unison on it to spread it out a bit. With no effects on it, it's pretty dry within the synth. There's a bit of portamento on it just to create the pitch bends. Some delay from Echo Boy. Let me turn that off. We have some reverb. Can't even remember if that OTT was actually on. Some distortion from Devil Lock. That's pretty heavy, but in the mix I think it sounds pretty good. So what I do here is I just put the distortion after the reverb, and that it creates like a really gritty sort of grungy sort of flavor to the reverb, and I think it sounds really nice. Okay, I'm just going to undo everything and get it back to how it was before, because I can't remember which of these plugins were switched on. So Devil Lock wasn't switched on. This is just pink noise that I used to get a basic level mix. How that works is you sort of just solo an instrument against the pink noise, and then you set the level so that you can just hear it above the pink noise, and that gets you a basic level mix. Yeah, it's really loud now, but usually I'd tone it down to about -6 dB, and just work really quickly so that you don't hurt your ears. But yeah, so you just solo that against the pink noise and then set the level so you can just barely hear it, and that'll give you a really good starting point, a nice balanced level mix to work with. Alright, then on to the mastering. Let me just switch these off one by one. So this is just some gentle compression. And this is just a preset from FabFilter Saturn. You can hear how that adds a lot of low into it. Really beefs it up a lot. And then we're just cutting out below 30 Hertz. That's just some rumble that we don't need, and it doesn't need to be running through the limiter. And then just a limiter. So not too heavily mastered, just some compression, saturation, and limiting really. And this is just an EQ so that I can see what's happening. Usually my goal is just to get the mix nice and flat and even. And then this is just called T-Racks. It's just some metering software, so I can check my perceived loudness, RMS. I can look at my stereo information, how it all looks. Yeah, that's it. So I'll leave the project in the description below. You can download it and have a look through. I'll make sure to freeze all the channels, so in case you're missing any plugins, you'll still be able to hear them at least. And yeah, thank you for watching, and see you next time.